Hello, I'm Nicholas Bernhard, and welcome to the third NDH Films interview. I'm very pleased to have with me today someone who has been in the voice acting industry for over 40 years and is the owner of the Marc Graue recording studio. Please join me in welcoming Marc Graue.
Right, 40 years. My pants are wet. No, it's wonderful. This is going to be a lot of fun today. We're going to be talking about all kinds of fun things, video games, animation, and of course the infamous Hotel Mario.
Yep.
It'll be a lot of fun.
That ought to do it. Where'd she go? Gee, it's kind of dark. You bring a light? No. Well, maybe a Koopa will lend us his, if we persuade him.
When did you read for the Mario part?
Goodness gracious, probably about maybe 3 months before they actually did the game. It's very interesting because back then everything was still CD-ROM, and so it was kind of a really new kind of a thing. Most people, a few people were just delving into the digital workstations. Other than that, everything was still quarter-inch tape or multi-track.
And how long did you spend in the booth recording those lines?
The game is honestly probably not more. I would think overall for all the characters, maybe 2 hours.
It was 2 hours in the booth for you, but
right.
people like me are still harassing
I don't know
you
that
about
they're
it.
not necessarily talking about it in a great way, but I was actually amazed to find out the amount of content that's on YouTube and across the internet and quotes, and where they've done cut scenes where they replace their, either use the existing audio and put in all kinds of silly stuff. It was kind of fun to see it come to a whole new life. Yeah, it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, you're one of the only people involved in those titles in any way to have had a positive reaction.
So you're pointing fingers, huh? Oh, you said the word positive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you're the only one who said, well, this is kind of neat. Other people are like, what's that? Or, oh, God, this is horrible.
Creating a character like that, you have really no idea that it's going to kind of go to this whole different level where it's like, really? People take things very, very seriously. I was in the mall one time with my daughter. This has been years ago. And I had done whatever the evil guy was in Warcraft. It was like a big 12-foot cutout of the character that I played. And my daughter goes, oh, look, Dad, there's the guy you play. And these guys were immediate. Well, what happens when you get to level? And it was like, I don't, oh, sure, you're with a voice. And they got very indignant. It was like, I apologize. I just was reading the script.
Right. People get very attached to the voices in particular. It's this emotional attachment. And people think that because they're so attached, the people who voice the characters must also, they must have been there when they were writing it or coding the game.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, they think you're much more involved with it than what you actually are. It takes a multitude of pieces all put together to make a game.
When I read what the reaction people had to Hotel Mario, and it's sort of interesting because people rediscovered it after it, and it's almost like people had a negative reaction to how Mario sounded. Right. Honestly, because it wasn't what they were used to. Is that frustrating that just because it's different?
No, just leave me alone. Okay, you don't need to bring that up. No, the interesting thing is anytime you're doing a voice session, you're really relying on the director, and if they sign off on it and go, gee, that's great. I mean, now, there are times where you go, well, could I try that one more time? I think I could do it a hint better. But normally what happens in a session like that is you'll go through a litany of voices. They may play you the audition so that you go, oh, okay, it's that. But even during the session, maybe, let's go a little higher. No, can you pour this on, do this? No, make the accent thicker. Can you pull that back a little bit? And there's some that are it's very interesting. It can go everywhere from, a Grand Theft Auto game playing a black, pimp, which is politically incorrect. But it's, hey, motherfucker, get the fuck, man, this is bullshit. And it's like, okay, well, I really don't want my name on that, thank you. Or Irish, it's all of a sudden you're doing this kind of thing. Oh, what's the matter with you, boy? Well, now an Irishman's going to listen to that and go, God, you're so full of crap. But the American ear, it's kind of, a cross between real Irish brogue and Lucky Charms, so they assume, oh, yeah, that's Irish. Where an actual Irishman would go, that's not even close. Yeah, exactly.
I have some comments here from people.
Here it comes.
Right. Mario sounds like a garbage man from Staten Island.
Well, that's not all bad, I guess. Yeah. Unless you don't like Staten Island.
Mario in Hotel Mario sounds like someone who might complain about not getting to rent in a bad 70s gumshoe flick. But they're kind of beating around the bush that he sounds like an Italian plumber from New York, which is how he's supposed to sound.
That would be your reference. It's like, okay, he's a plumber from New York, so that's the first thing you're going to do. But it's the same premise as,
instead of doing the Joe Pesci voice where the guy's up like this talking 150 miles an hour, maybe put some weight on the guy and bring him down so he's like, weighs a couple of more pounds, make him stupid. So like he's not that smart. Or even if it's like the head of the plumber, you might even bring him down to this level. Change the pipe or I'm going to break your arm. You're creating your own voice during an audition, and hopefully something they will hear, they'll go, gee, that's wonderful, and you'll book the job. There are situations where you're strictly at their mercy. In other words, they're telling you, no, do this, do this, do this. In fact, this is a great example. We had a video game, Unnamed. It was a military game.
Okay.
And the direction must have gone on seriously for 20 minutes. Okay. This isn't, he's not an officer, okay? He's an enlisted man, but he has a command like an officer. Okay, so when he talks, the men listen to him, but yet he's not an officer up here. He's still one of the guys. And it goes on and on and on and on. Okay, let's do the line. Yes, sir. That's the line.
Right.
And it's like, really? Now, what happens sometimes is that you get so much direction, your brain's going, you're keeping that very straight. Why, yes, I am a thespian. Do you smell that? You know what I'm bringing to this role. But the reality is your brain's going, I got lost about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, some directors think that if they say, well, he's an officer, but he's they think that that's nuance. And that will help.
But it's very funny when the line is yes, sir. Yeah. It's like, well, yeah, I think you could do 10 in a row and come up with something. It was like, oh, okay. I remember one time playing a troll, and the direction was, I love the size of him. Now make it sweatier. And you don't want to go, what the hell does that mean? So you do, the sweaty troll voice. And your brain's doing the Homer Simpson, with the gears locking up. Usually what happens, if you throw something back, then they will finally go, yes, like that, and actually give you direction now that makes sense.
What's the worst piece of direction? What made you really groan?
There was a gentleman in here, and this was for a really cheesy commercial. Was that called 1-800-JAM-YOUR-ASS-IN-DEAD, And he's like, look, I feel like you're just not really getting it. It was like, well, give me a line reading. Line reading means they're going to read it to you exactly like they want it. Mm-hmm. So you do. Okay, so no, it's still, look, I'm going to conduct you. So he comes down and walks in front of the console, and of course I'm standing, and he does this, as you start to read, and of course what I shouldn't have done, I did. It was like, which didn't go over very well. Had he had a cape, it would have been that, I don't need this, exit stage left. So yeah, you will have some, if a director is confident and knows the material, you can zip right through it because they've done their homework and they know where this is going.
So one thing I've noticed, I read a lot of interviews with screenwriters, or writers, and what they all say, like whenever a movie's been poorly received by audiences or by critics, they all say, well, I turned in a great script. It was the director or the studio.
That was it. It was the barometric pressure.
or the actors said it wrong. Like literally, I've seen interviews where the writer said, "Well, the actors just said my lines wrong."
It's not. You see, what's interesting is on this side, as far as a voice actor, you don't really have control over content at all. I mean, you can change things up a little bit. Again, when you're auditioning for video games or animation, you can put in a laugh, a burp, a strange quirk, which might set it apart. Usually with a video game, though, which as opposed to animation, it's pretty specific. They've already got some pretty tight drawings of what they want the character to be. What's very interesting with that is sometimes if you have a game that's a foreign game, that's been, let's say, transcribed from Korean or Japanese, or that's why now we are for to be going there. You should die, yes? And it's like,
do you want me to change this
to have it make make it's like, okay, great, and so you'll do it verbatim. We were doing a project when it was very, very family oriented, and the girl kept throwing these lines in, da 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 da. Do I look like I've got big tits, dickhead? And it's like, and you can see the guy in her just kind of like, oh my God, she's going to hell, kind of thing. And it was like, that's probably not the best choice of ad lib for this project. And then again, there are other projects where you can go completely off because it fits the character. Years ago, we had done a cartoon series called Hulk Hogan's Rock Wrestling. And it was so, of course, they cast this here, and everybody's doing this, man. Hey, brother. Hey, man. Da-da-da. How you doing, man? Hulkamania. Yeah, exactly. And then they kind of realized, this is scaring the shit out of 6-year-olds. Mom, the TV's yelling at me again. So they had to go in and recast and tone stuff down a little bit because it was a little too in your face.
There's a lot of websites now that allow that connect people who want to be voiceover artists with work. Are some of those worthwhile, or some of them not? Or?
The only thing that it's expanded the field. It's expanded both work opportunities, but it's also expanded the field of people that feel they can do voiceover stuff. Now, I don't mean that as well, yes, you need to do this and that. Not at all. It's just there's certainly room for everybody, but I think a lot of people aren't necessarily really honest with what they're about. It's like if you look at American Idol and the singers, where you just go, seriously, you really think this is happening, and everybody's going, oh God, and yeah, we get quite a bit of that here, where it's kind of an interesting like. Really? Okay. It's I've been doing them on hold messages from my brother's real estate office up in Moose Dick, Iowa, and so I'm doing a lot of voice. In fact, I just traded a thing out at a restaurant down the street for dinner. And it's like, well, that's great. And I mean, it's not. I mean, everybody has to start off somewhere. So don't get me. It's not like Sour Grapes, or I'm doing the holier than. I don't mean it that way at all, but. There are some people who are, as with anything, are extraordinarily talented, and then there's other people that just, again, they assume it's no different than acting, singing, anything else. Well, you can make a ton of money doing this. And it's like, yes, you can, but you have to realize that it's not like all of a sudden, here I'm doing a silly voice, all of a sudden I'm making, $1 million a year. That's the interesting thing, too, with technology now, is that you have that ability to do stuff. We actually had a very fun session. It was an interview with Shaka Khan that was being fed to the BBC, which they were feeding to Scotland.
Okay.
So because it's Scottish, he'd go, so Shaka, it's in America, you can stay. And she's like, what is he saying? It's like, you're on your own, lady.
I have subtitles.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, you have that. I used to do liners for a thing called, of all things, Radio 1 in Lebanon. And so you're thinking, Lebanon, people with guns and stuff running around. I mean, that's the American, concept. But it's all in English. But it'd be that tonight, live from Radio 1 at the Fanaka shit. Don't worry, my friend. I send you MP3. It's pronounced it's like, what? So I've got my engineer here slowing it and going, sounds like I'm having a seizure or something. But it's, But yeah, it's very interesting. And a lot of the time you can get, hooked up on pronunciations. If the script is good, they will have a phonetically, spelled out for you, so you can. Oh, okay, great. Because there's some stuff that just doesn't make sense. Vietnamese is one of those languages. If the word is this long and it's pronounced, really? What do you do with all the red? We don't need all this shit, man. Take these letters out. Well, what's interesting is from the technical aspect now, you've got guys that have come up that Pro Tools is all they've ever known, is, digital stuff. And it's like, that sounds like crap. Yeah, but look at the waveform. It's like, don't look at it, listen to it. So everything is, there's the waveform, So it's very funny. We had done a session with William Shatner. It was very interesting, seeing where he does that kind of thing when he talks, and it's like, look, and the waveform is doing the same. It was like, well, it wasn't an impression; it was actually him. So it was kind of interesting, but it's kind of a double. What's interesting is like people that are doing stuff from their homes with home studios.
Right.
Now, not only are they performing, but they've also got to act as an engineer and an editor, et cetera. And I'm astounded at the stuff we've gotten here, where it's like, and it's like. You see, audio, red is bad, green is good. It's interesting in that it's much quicker. Where it used to be, you had all of these time code machines. In fact, we had a very quick story. We were doing a project for, it was not Teddy Ruxpin, it was a project called TV Teddy after that was basically an interactive bear that's this little white, cute, cuddly bear. Well, and what they do is they put an inaudible tone on a cartoon so the bear would go, "I love this," where Daffy jumps off the cliff. And there goes Daffy, that kind of, so it was this little thing that you could set the bear with your kid and the bear would talk, this kind of stuff.
Wow.
But the session, they did not give us continuous time code. So every time it hits a glitch, all the machines go, and they're spinning, going, where is it? I don't know what to do. So it was like, oh, God. So long story short, we had Milton Berle in about 2 weeks before, who is, let's just say, one of the most interesting individuals I've worked with as far as verbiage, and just quite honestly, on a personal note, just not a very pleasant man. So what we ended up doing with this, because everyone was trying, I burnt the Milton Berle outtakes onto the chip for this bear. Okay. So here's this adorable little white bear going, "You fucking cocksucker, you can't hear, fuck you, fuck, hey, fuck, you think you're fucking funny, fuck you, you're not funny." I mean, it just, so that would have scared the crap out of some kids. Completely tasteless, but we had a ball doing it. We were all laughing very hard at the time.
Now, I've heard that the one voice that is most in demand, but the hardest to do, is the normal person. Like
the hardest thing, I'll tell you, for people, there's a lot of people who have had a radio background who get into voiceover, and that's probably the most difficult thing to do, because you're so used to keying the mic and, hey, it's a little after 8 o'clock, and well, people don't walk around and talk, hey, you've got a nice shirt there, that's not, No, you sound natural. Now, the funny thing, it's like with myself, because I do so many evil guys, I never play the guy next door. I usually play the guy that kills the guy next door. It's just kind of doing what you do. It's interesting in that, again, that depends entirely on the style of the game. If it's rated E for everyone, it's going to be now we're going to paint the flower. If it's rated M for mature, kill the motherfucking flower, man. Pull the fucking petals off that fuck. It's all over the place. So it's going to be, so you need to do your homework a little bit if you're auditioning for something to find out, what kind of content is this. But the whole thing too is as voice talent, you need to kind of stick within your wheelhouse. My voice is naturally a little bit deeper. So, me doing kids' voices sounds like I'm trying to lure them into the van with a candy bar, so it's probably not a good, so I kind of steer away from that, The natural read stuff is interesting because it even commercially, it's gone from that Gary Owens kind of read, which is in beautiful downtown Burbank, where he had that thing. Then it went to that very monotone, I got up this morning, saw my wife, I went to work, I came home, I had a sandwich, went to bed, got up again next day and went to work, and it was that just very, very flat. The reads right now, younger sounding, skewing to that age bracket, also very, very Gen X. Gen X meaning like, the new iPhone, I don't give a shit if you buy this, you suck. It's just that very aloof kind of like, it's not that hard, Right. But it depends, on the client and the product, as far as what I remember I got my first audition for AARP. It was like, screw you. I'm not that damn old, kind of like, what is it? I remember the first time my pants were squishy, but, so we kind of shy away from that a bit. But anyway, it really is just dependent on whatever it is they want you to do. I remember years ago, Fievel Goes West, when the Spielberg thing came out. Right. Well, that was one of the first big animated things, and with Steven Spielberg, so the copy, auditioning for that was very, very hush-hush, even to the point where they had the scripts that if you tried to copy the script, it would disintegrate the print on a photocopier. Wow. But it was things like, he's a rat. Okay. Is he a fat rat? Is he a tall rat? Is he a skinny rat? Is he a sewer rat? Is he sophisticated? Is he, And so I think a lot of the time, some directors get so caught up. Video games can be notorious for that. There's a couple, especially a franchise, let's say like Star Wars or something, where the people that are into that are so familiar with, so they're talking about, here's your casting, and it goes, he was basically, when he was born on the planet Schlark, and then the Snuggie people, basically kidnapped him when he was 3 years old, and he was raised by the Glurpers, and then it's like, And what kind of voice does that mean?
Right.
You know, and on this end, sometimes you need to be at least a little bit of a jumping off point to understand where you're going to. I had Phil Proctor from Fireside Theater is a wonderful, wonderful voice actor and great actor in general. He's a good guy. Phil had sent me this piece of copy one time years ago that he goes, you have to see this. And it's literally about 3/4 of a page of description how we don't want an actor on this. We want a real genuine next door guy. So not an announcer, not an actor. He needs to be very genuine from the heart. It's kind of like William H. Macy, but with Jim Carrey's comedy timing, but a vocal quality like Sam Elliott or James Earl Jones. You feel like, who are we talking to now, Sybil? I mean, it's just kind of all over the place. And it goes and goes and goes. And here's the copy. Hillshire Farm sausage is on sale this week for $2.99. That's it. You know, so what's interesting is that usually in the audition process, they really are not sure what they want. They they're specific and they think they do, but a lot of the time they hear something and go, that's what we wanted to do.
So I like that story about this person who had to do a small number of lines, but it took them forever.
We had a pretty A-list starlet. Who had 33 lines of dialogue to do. So 33 loops. Usually it's just like, you know, hey, where are you going? Or calling from the kitchen, you know, that kind of thing. So they realize for content, it sets up the scene better.
Sure.
So 33 lines in 5 hours, she did 3 lines because she wasn't going to jeopardize her performance. So the poor ADR supervisor would be very calm and, yeah, okay, let's try this. And of course she wouldn't. So hang on just for a second, and he'd go out in the hallway and just explode, you know, she won't do it, and then he'd come back in and, yeah, let's move to the next loop. You know, let's try that. No, I'm not going to do it. Okay, hang on, and then he'd back out in the hallway, you know. So it was great. He had a great Sam Kinison impression.
And I find that interesting because people think that a voice actor, because they're in a booth and it's indoors, that it's somehow easier. But you know, this was someone who was industry recognized, critically recognized, and they had a very hard time because but they didn't want to jeopardize their performance. What is that?
Well, it's sometimes when you're doing dialogue replacement for a film, like let's say it's a rape scene. I mean, that can be a very, very intense, you know, kind of a thing. We've done stuff like that where everybody's in tears and like, you know, because it's such a dynamic, oh my God, you know, kind of a thing. And the actor or actress has to get themselves back in that mode, and that can be difficult. And then you have some who just, you know, simply don't, you know, they don't care. I'm not going to do it. I've had a couple that actually were set up, ready to go, and they called from the limo and said, I'm not going to do it. It's not our product. Our clock's still ticking, so we don't care. But you know, there are egos that are a little crazed sometimes, and most people though are pretty much down to earth.
I was wondering if you could tell the Captain Morgan story. It's one of the I've never laughed harder than.
Well, we were doing a spot for Captain Morgan Rum. This has been a few years ago, and the line goes, "Captain Morgan, what'd you say?"
Yeah.
And the talent kept going, "Captain Morgan, what'd you say?" And it was like, no, you're sounding like an old Jewish man. And what'd you say? What is the problem with the drinking? You know, and it was like, no. So it's like, no. Here it's, Captain Morgan, what'd you say? Captain Morgan, what'd you say? And it was like just kind of going like this. And thank God there's double glass because everybody on this side of the glass was going, oh, shit. This isn't working.
And was it because of how it was written, or just how the actor was delivering
the hardest thing is that what happens is you've got a very definitive idea. That's what this is. So obviously the guy went over and, Captain Morgan, what do you say? You know, like asking his question. So that's embedded in his brain. So to try and get out of that, it's like your brain's going, I don't understand. It's like telling someone, no. You need to go like this. Like this? No. Like this. Like this? No, like this, and it's balanced. It's almost like being tone deaf. And there's some people that just simply don't. Their vocal quality is great, but that interpretation of what a director is saying, it's just not going there. You can see the direction just, there goes another one, zoom, you know, kind of right by, you know.
Huh. If it was like a tagline, you have that one line, you got it, and so you obsess over that.
Well, it's interesting in that, you know, taglines, again, sometimes the direction makes sense. You know, sometimes it's like, it needs to be a confident voice. okay, there's a whole bunch of different,
Right.
you know. You wanted me to mention to you the Charlton Heston story.
Oh.
If you want. Well, Charlton, which was very interesting, I don't know why he felt he felt very comfortable here. He would come over, I swear to you, in his robe and slippers, and he would sit in the back and drink coffee. And so people would come out going, is that? No, it's like, yes, that's Moses in the kitchen. Probably one of the funniest outtakes. He was doing like a biblical CD kind of a thing of Bible stories or whatever. And it's Charlton Heston, so he's got this incredible, verbiage to his voice. And he had his coffee sitting there, and he goes, and God looked down and said, fuck, oh shit. It was like, well, thank you, Moses. I don't know what book that was in. We've got some outtakes that are pretty priceless. I mean, some very, very unusual. And then there's other ones that are career breakers that we will never release. One time I had a Russian girl come in, very, very hot looking, who gave us a voice sample, and she wanted us to voice match this sample on the phone to go, well, I know that I promised you citizenship and $1 million, but it was like, can you say scam? It was like, nah, I don't think so. We'll pass on that one.
It's really great to hear those stories and get that insight.
Always a pleasure, man. It's great that it's found a whole new life. That's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, and there's still a community of people that work with the material.
Sadly, they actually usually parked out in front of my house with torches. But hopefully that'll mellow out. That's him. Kill him.
Well, thank you very much then.
You're welcome, man. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah.
Wow, I forgot what I was doing. Okay, A2 marker.
How?
I didn't touch you.
I like that. I'm very pleased to have with me today sorry. Sure.
Hooked on phonics? Okay, sorry, okay.